it's a little bit disheartening, isn't it? I feel like I've just watched Burnley back in like August, October time. Like that was the level we were playing at right there. And I know that a lot of the team were youth players and players who don't get much opportunity to play, but uh, to just to have such little it looked like they had barely any desire. It looked like not a single one of the players truly wanted to take the game on. Um, I don't. I'm a bit lost for words, to be honest. After that performance, um, you know what can you say anyway? Um, I think I don't think there were many players who had particularly game-ending performances. Um, there were a couple that I just thought we might as well be. There were. I'll make the comment instantly, and I'm sure most people already know what I'm going to say. Having Dale Stevens on the pitch was like playing with 10 men. Um, and mainly in the second half, it was like playing with 10 men. In the first half, it was like playing with 11 men, except the 11th man just defends for the other team. And I was just, I am. I appreciate that we were struggling financially to bring in players, but if the best we can do is Dale Stevens, I struggle to see how we're really going to maintain our position in the Premier League this year. If we play like that against a Championship side in a cup, you worry how we're going to end up playing against Chris. I think it's Crystal Palace and West Brom coming up, and then Fulham soon. I struggle to see how we're going to pick up that performance and just say, all right, let's just dust it off and go for the Premier League. Maybe it'll be a blessing in disguise. Maybe it'll spur us on to do better in the Premier League and gain proper safety. But as I say, I don't know how this is going to end up working out. Let's go through the players individually. Bailey Peacock Farrell didn't really have much to do at all today. I think he made one very impressive save that Dale Stevens put on target. You have to laugh, otherwise you'll cry. Yeah, Dale Stevens put a bullet header right on target, and Bailey Peacock Farrell saved it well. And that's all he really had to do. The 2 goals that went in, I think it's more of a defensive problem. But yeah, I think Bailey was fine. It was just unfortunate to be playing in a team that were just underperforming on the day. I thought distribution-wise as well, he was pretty all right. He looked calm on the ball. There were a couple of times where it just went a bit wayward, but other than that, I can't really complain. As funny as it sounds, I think he was probably one of our best players today, just solely on the fact that he didn't have the time to do anything wrong. Phil Bardsley, he was fine. I think we're seeing that age catching up on him now a little bit. He just didn't look as good as he did last season, because last season he was on top form last season. But I think now Matt Loughton's come into the team and Phil Bardsley's had a bit of time off. I think he's a bit off it, and I don't think I can blame anything other than just inactivity in football. So I think he was fine. He got a yellow card at the end of the game. Quite disappointed with that. You don't want to see your players just getting angry because they're the ones who have put themselves in that position. I could understand if they thought they were done wrong by the referee, but they weren't. They put themselves in a position of losing, and that's exactly what happened. And it seems that a few of the players just got angry about it and wanted to take it out on something. I don't know. Centre backs Kevin Long and Jimmy Dunn. Again, just a bit uninspiring as a defensive partnership. I think Kevin Long was okay. I struggled to see how the penalty was considered a penalty. I haven't had a good view of it because the camera didn't show much on the stream. So I don't know. But from what I understood of what I saw, it didn't look like a penalty to me. So I think based on that, I think he was unfortunate. Other than that, he just looked a bit one-dimensional as a defender. He didn't look like doing anything other than tackling the ball and getting the ball away from the person who once had the ball, whether or not that meant it went out for a corner, someone else picked up the ball, or it went out for an attack or whatever. I don't know. Jimmy Dunn, first half he was a bit dull, just same as Kevin Long, but second half he picked it up. Second half he picked it up a little bit more, which was enjoyable to see. He made one very, very good little run from centre back, and he crossed into somebody. I can't remember who he crossed it into, but I think we ended up getting a shot on target. In fact, that might have been the. We didn't get we got a shot very far off target. I'll talk about that later, but it was the Jay Rodriguez opportunity that I think he created. Anthony Driscoll Glennon. I think there were some sparks of sort of flair and creativity, which was impressive. Obviously, he's a young fella. He's probably quite a few years off being able to play at the top level. He was playing for Grimsby, last season, a couple of seasons ago. So I'd never expected him to be, one of our best players. But the things he did show me were promising for a young player. And yeah, I can't really slate him too much defensively because I think it's just Dyche's narrow sort of formation choice that mean that the wingers have a lot more of an advantage on the fullbacks, and I just don't think Driscoll Glennon was quite set up and prepared for that. Which, it's I can imagine it's not an easy thing to do as a defender, to be able to make that space back. So that's the defence and the goalkeeper. Dwight McNeil, that's one of his worst performances this season, I think. I don't know if it was to do with him playing bad or Bournemouth just keeping him on lock and just saying, no, you just start making dribbles back into your defence, because that was what he mainly did. I can't think right now of a forward dribble he made off the top of my head that ended up doing something. So yeah, in that sense, in the sense of what Dwight McNeil is made of, what the thing that makes Dwight McNeil, I don't think he quite did that today. Obviously, sometimes does his across the pitch dribbles, which sometimes actually works out quite well. But this time he was actively going back into defence and ended up just passing it to Jimmy Dunn. It's disappointing, but that's what the game is. Who are our centre midfielders? Josh Benson. Quite uninspiring. I didn't really see anything from him. I've not really been impressed with Josh Benson, the games that I have seen of him. There's not really much I can say about him, to be honest. I just think he was quite, as I say, uninspiring, unmotivated. He didn't do anything to add any creativity to the team, which is what you'd expect a centre midfielder to do. Even defensively, he wasn't very strong. So that was his game. We've talked about Dale Stephens. I'll talk about him again if you want me to. He isn't to the standard. He isn't to the quality that we expect of a team, that a team in the Premier League expect. And there's a reason that Brighton just weren't playing him. There's a reason he was third, fourth choice centre midfielder over there, and it's just simply because he's not at the level. And you would have thought that perhaps against the Championship side he might shine a little bit more. But all in all, I think Bournemouth are actually a very good Championship side, and it is worrying to see, because if we're basing our performances, our regular performances, and comparing them to Championship teams, the Championship is a different animal now than what it used to be when we were in it. From what I understand and from what I've seen from a few games, it's very different, and we wouldn't survive. I don't think we'd survive in the Championship. We'd stay up comfortably, but I don't think we'd survive. So yeah, I think all in all, I think Bournemouth did actually have a good game, but I just think we allowed them to have a good game too much. We let them play their game, which is not what you want to do for any team. So yeah, I think I'll put it down to that just to make peace of mind for myself. Bjorn Gudmundsson, unless there was a problem with fitness or injury, I have no idea why on earth he brought off Gudmundsson for Matt Loughton. Because I think Bjorn Gudmundsson that first half and a little bit into the second half, he was one of our best players creatively. He was making nice little runs, nice little pressing forward runs. He didn't usually come off with anything, but it was nice to just see him trying something around players who just weren't locking inspire, just weren't doing anything of worth. I can't say Gudmundsson had a bad game at all today. I think he was one of our best players. And if I'm pressed to give a man of the match, that's probably who I'd give it to. But I still don't really think he deserves it. At all. I should clarify, man of the match for Burnley. Most of Bournemouth's side could have been tipped for man of the match more than our Burnley side. Up top, Matej Vydra. I don't think we played to his strengths today. We were doing a lot of those get it out wide, cross it in. Vydra just isn't that player. You want those through balls in which he can get through the defenders and just pick it up. And there was one time across the whole game where he was allowed to do that, and he put a shot on target, and I think it was our only shot on target. No, sorry, Dwight McNeil put one shot on target. So it was one of our only few shots on target the whole game, and probably our best chance. And it wasn't a very good chance. So there it is. Gio Rodriguez, I love him. I love what he does for Burnley. I love that he's such a Burnley lad and he loves the community. I don't think he's been up to scratch. I don't think he's been at that standard anymore. I don't think he is at that standard anymore. A lot of the runs he was making just seemed a little bit pointless. He was making runs in areas where you just can't feasibly pass. And where you can feasibly pass, he just wasn't in a good position to even pick the ball up. And it wasn't good to see. Considering, he was probably one of our better players last season in terms of having to come in, as a second choice, and he lit us up really, and I think that's what Matej Vydra has done this year a little bit. Maybe not as much today, but given the opportunity, Matej Vydra, and given the sort of the game plan, Matej Vydra will always light us up. So yeah, I think Gio Rodriguez might have been the wrong option to start today, but it would have been unfair to give Barnes that constant start again, because you've got to rest some people. I understand that, that's something I also need to clarify, is that we played a very weak side today. We played a side that could be considered lower half of the championship. Bournemouth are better than the side. Bournemouth's side is better than ours, by a long shot, in my opinion. So in that sense, I'm fine with that. But you also like to think Sean Dyche's side should be doing something to a team like Bournemouth, but 'twas not to be. Players who came off the bench, let's think first. Ashley Westwood, he came on. He had about 3, 4, 5 minutes of dominance on the pitch. He looked very good, and then he just dropped off. Story of Burnley's life, really, isn't it? Like there's a moment of greatness. Wow, you're on fire, la da da, and then suddenly everything drops, and nothing comes of it at all. Sorry, let me just go back to Gio Rodriguez for a second. I forgot to mention his terrible miss. Jimmy Dunn, I believe Jimmy Dunn put it in. Matej Vydra tried to shoot, but instead flicked it onto Gio Rodriguez. I don't think the ball was bouncing. It might have been, but Gio Rodriguez just gets his foot terribly under the ball and just puts it over the bar, and that could have been the difference maker, I think. But, you can't expect every strike to go in, but if you're a team like Burnley where you don't actually get many shots on target anyway, You need players who can just do that, who can just put it in the back of the net. And this season, we've not proved to be having that. Hence our goal tally so far. I think we're the lowest in the Premier League now. I think Sheffield have been picking it up a little bit, which is not very good. Other substitutions we made. Matt Loughton came on for Johan Berg-Gudmundsson. He was fine, but he's not a right midfielder. He's proved it other times before when he's come on and played right midfield. He just doesn't play well at right midfield. He's a right back, and he does really well as an overlapping right back, and he is one of the best overlapping right backs I've seen us have in a long while. Nothing really more to say about that. I think he was unfairly done today. He should have come on for Bardsley, in my opinion, and I think Loughton and Gudmundsson would have been good together. But that's the nature of the beast. And then lastly, obviously the two strikers, Matej and Jay, came off for Mumbongo and Ashley Barnes. I can't recall Joel Mumbongo touching the ball at all. He probably had, but I can't recall it off the top of my head. Ashley Barnes, all I really saw him do was allow the ball to come for it, hold up the player, and then do his thing where he pretends or does get shoved, and he's like, "Where's my foul, referee?" Which does sometimes work, but I want to see more. That's not what we needed in that point. We needed a bit of heart, we needed a bit of design, we needed a bit of creativity, and we were just copping out in that case. I think Ashley Barnes. I don't think Ashley Barnes was very good today when he came on. Same with Mumbongo. He just didn't do much. But on the same token, you expect Ashley Barnes to be doing something. Mumbongo's 23. He's barely played for us. And from what we have seen of Mumbongo so far this season, you can see that he does have a bit of something about him. It's just it has to come out of its shell, and it needs to be sort of cultured into being able to do that. Whereas Ashley Barnes should know his game by now. And when he came on, I couldn't quite tell what his game was, other than drawing the fouls. Which, if that's all his game is made of, I struggle to see where he can really fit into a Premier League side. But I am one of the few people, I'm proud to admit, I am one of the few people that actually think Ashley Barnes is a good player. It's just today, he didn't look like doing anything, which is quite annoying. But once again, I think one thing both myself and a lot of Burnley fans, and just fans anyway, we need to understand that this is Burnley Football Club right here. We're talking about a team that is made up of players dragged from the Championship and dragged from teams in the Premier League who aren't using said player. And we're just stuffing them together and creating a cohesive unit. We have no right to be doing what we're doing. We have no right to be... I think it's our 5th Premier League season consecutively. We have no right to be doing that. And it is really all down to Sean Dyche. And there's no question that it's down to Sean Dyche and his abilities to create a cohesive unit. But as I say, you can't just... You can't expect a cohesive unit to win every game. That's just not how football works. You can't expect a team to win every game. Even the best teams in the world, Man City's, your Bayern Munich's, they don't win every game. Specifically right now, you'd probably say Manchester City. They don't win every game. They're on, 17 or 18 game win streak right now? That will fall eventually. It just happens to be that they have the players to continue doing that for a longer period. We don't have the players to continue doing that for a longer period, but we do have the players to pull wins and to pull points from games where perhaps sometimes we don't deserve it, sometimes we really do. And I think regarding the Brighton game on Saturday, I believe it was, we saw a level that second half that was just very impressive. And I think after seeing that, we were very, very high hoped. Our hearts were all lifted and we were like, yes, we'll take this to the Bournemouth game. We'll beat them because we always beat Bournemouth, and look what they've done. But you know what? It's the FA Cup. These things happen. It's the magic of the cup. And you can only really hope that Brighton now go on to win it, so that we can at least say that we were essentially finalists, and the winners beat us. But having said that, I can imagine that every single draw that Bournemouth get from now on will never be Manchester City away, whereas it would have been if we had got through. So, you know, that's it. That's football, and we have to live with it. But yeah, on to the next one. I can't even think off the top of my head right now who we have next. But yeah, on to the next one. I think it's West Brom. On to the next. It might be Crystal Palace though. I'll give up now. On to the next one. UTC. Thank you for watching.